Hello, welcome friends to another episode of Authentic and Unaltered. With me for my 8th installment is Tony of JP Wisco Baseball Cards. Hi, Tony.
Hey.
Good to have you with me today to
Good
talk
to be
about what should be your favorite subject, right? You.
Yeah.
So to start things out, what did little Tony? I know you're from Wisconsin originally. Well, like, what sports did you play growing up and participate in? And
I basically did all of them. Actually, not football, but I did not because like my parents didn't let me or whatever. I don't know. I didn't play football, but baseball. A little bit of basketball, even though I don't like basketball, so I didn't do it very long. But yeah, mainly t-ball, coach pitch, little league. I didn't really play organized sports like in leagues like after elementary school, but yeah, I did.
You weren't pushed into soccer at least even for a year?
Soccer, yeah. Okay. Soccer too. I didn't say soccer. Yeah, soccer too. Baseball and soccer mainly.
All right. And then as far as collecting, how did you get started in collecting?
To be honest, like I can't think of there's no magical story moment or anything like that. I'm a kid and I just liked collecting stuff, my first sort of main memory of card collecting was actually Pokemon, because when Pokemon basically came out, that's I was a kid when it originally came out, right?
Oh yeah.
So I remember having yeah, so but I had all kinds of stuff. So my dad was in the bar business, and I remember getting for example, they would have pocket schedules at the bar with they'd have Green Bay Packers players on them, a little Packers pocket. And I remember collecting the little schedules or various stuff like that. I had cards too. I wasn't very sort of laser focused on sports cards in particular, but I liked collecting all kinds of stuff, cards, action figures, just all that kind of stuff. So.
And, as far as was there any kind of first set of sports that you started with, or?
Well, I would say that one of the first sets that I remember, which is one of my favorite sets ever, maybe partly because of that, is the 1998 Skybox Metal Universe. And I have the complete set in a binder, and that's one of the first sets I kind of remember. Now I had a few of these cards. I remember having these when I was a kid. I remember them distinctly, and then I didn't compile this, so this is not my childhood set or anything like that. I had some of the cards, but of course it was later where I actually was man, I love those cards. So I do have the complete set now. And about half of it was compiled from, I actually opened packs of it later, a few years ago, but
yeah.
So have you ever, I know you said in our correspondence that this era is not really in your wheelhouse, right? So I don't know if are you aware of these or?
I know of that brand for basketball for when I came back
in. Okay, they're very much the best. So the 98 one's cool. They have this is the Larry Walker. They have a background that sort of matches the player or the team they play for. So they all have, they're not just the actual photo background. They make a sort of doctored background or whatever, but they all have, so yeah, I don't know. Here's I don't know. I'm just pulling random ones out. But these are great. Let me find so They also have these inserts too that are like comic book style. So like here's the Jeter Hardball
Nice.
Galaxy. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a great, really awesome, vibrant 90 of the era, I think. Late 90s.
All shiny with the big photography like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really cool like how they made these. They have kind of like almost like a mini hologram, or sort of it's almost like a brushed aluminum look. They look really nice. Like here's the Barry Larkin. I don't know. I can't go through all of them, obviously, but each card is, it's not just like the actual photos background. They put in a whole new background that's unique for each card. And yeah, they're really. Here's Jeff Suppan, who I still have nightmares about because the Brewers paid him way too much money. So yeah, that's probably like the set that comes to mind if I think of like, for I guess what was the question? The sort of first sports set that you can sort of remember or think about. I would 98 Metal Universe just kind of comes to mind for me.
And so then what was there a certain number of years you collected as a kid and then you had a gap of time there?
I would say that so I was collecting cards and stuff of all kinds, when I was a kid, all through elementary school. And then I would say I kept on until probably like halfway through middle school, maybe. And then I kind of stopped. High school, not really. College, not so much either. And then kind of after college, I would say, a lot of people talk about kind of like getting back into the hobby, right? Sure. For me, that was probably in earnest, probably around 2017. So,
okay. And is that also then when you started vintage, or did you actually collect any vintage as a kid?
So as we were kind of touching on this earlier. I basically my vintage collecting started around that time. Okay. I didn't have, when I was a kid, as I said, it was all those kinds of cards, Pokemon, the old Skybox products and things like that. And no vintage really. As I said, my father was a collector, as most kids in his day were. So he was, 50s, 60s cards back in the day. And the sort of typical story where he literally put them in his bike spokes to make a noise, or putting them on he and his brother would tack cards on a cork board in the shape of a diamond and make like kind of like fantasy lineups and things like that. So back when he collected, right, it was they were purely playthings and they got all beat up, and then probably eventually whatever cards didn't disintegrate from being handled so much were thrown away or things like that. So none of his cards survived. But he did collect. But yeah, for me, then it was pretty much when I got, kind of earnestly back into it, which was probably around 2017.
Okay. And then one of the things I like on your channel is that you show kinds of different stuff. Like the vintage magazines are really cool. Is that also a recent, collecting?
It is. It is, and that's more recent for sure. Like I said, I got into it 2017, and then that is actually even more recent. And I can tell you that it's pretty much just entirely a pragmatic reason for getting into it, like because they're so affordable compared to the cards.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I got, I had the sport magazines with Joe DiMaggio on them. One of them is like from 1949. It's like it's a 1949 thing with Joe DiMaggio on it from his playing days, and I got it for like nothing. Maybe $10 or something like that, right? So yeah, I really think the magazines and stuff are very underrated, maybe.
Versus any of his solo cards, you can't touch hardly without a comma in the price.
They're basically out of my reach, right? So
yeah. So as far as the Japanese collection, was that something that only started after you moved, or was that something you started before you moved? Or
definitely in terms of like actual Japanese cards, for sure, that was after, that's only been a thing for a couple years. And it was a similar thing where I found something because it was comparatively more affordable. So I said, hey, wow, these are pretty cool, and I can get these Menko cards or what have you for nothing comparatively, right? So the actual Japanese cards themselves, that's pretty new. That's only the last couple years. Of course, some of my cards of Japanese players, for instance, like Ichiro, that goes back a little further, right? That's more of a kind of when I kind of started getting back into things.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actual Japanese stuff, like from Japan itself, yeah, that's a fairly new thing. Couple years.
All right. Well, I mean, speaking of Japan, I mean, all of us in the U.S., it's kind of, not the typical thing for somebody to end up living overseas. How long have you been over there? And
oh man, I've been in Japan probably almost 10 years at this point. So yeah, it's been quite a while now, but I've gotten used to it. It's yeah.
Is there a card collecting scene where you can actually get like American products too over there?
Yep. So all of the Topps products you can get. There are my LCS and some other card shops around. They all carry Topps, and it's the exact same stuff that you can get, in the United States or, in the West, in Canada, in the United States. So the exact same stuff. Yep. Cards are pretty big here. And all kinds of cards. So I think that's one cool thing. It's a sort of a cultural connection that I think the US and Japan have, this kind of like card culture. And for Japan too, it goes back a pretty long way. Not quite as much as the United States, right? But, they have cards from, the 30s, the 40s, even the old Menko cards and things like that. So there is definitely a shared culture. Game cards, of course, Pokemon is from Japan, Yu-Gi-Oh! And all those card games and stuff. So yeah, I can get the regular stuff, Topps and all that. All the card shops have all that stuff. So
okay. Well,
but what I will say is, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
Definitely the Japanese collectors are not super into vintage for some reason. I don't know why. You basically can't get your hands on Western, like American vintage cards here. Like all of my cards are, I basically get them from the United States because it's just really not a thing here. And there's comparatively little interest in even the Japanese older cards, which has changed pretty significantly like since the pandemic. But I remember I kind of Indiana Jones and the Boulder, I got between the door as it was closing on guys like Sadaharu and stuff. Those used to be dirt cheap. Like nobody wanted them. And now they're, even in Japan, they're a little bit more, but yeah.
Oh, so you're saying you were fortunate to get them before the...
Yes, I did the running from the boulder indie maneuver.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, that's where I was going with what I was going to say next is, as my most frequent LCS is eBay. So, I was wondering if you had to typically have to ship things from the US a lot when you're purchasing ultimately. So
Pretty much. Modern cards, of course, like I can go to my LCS and get modern cards. And so, they've got slabs behind glass and, the modern cards, it's not a pro. Like if I want to get modern stuff at my LCS, I can do that. But yeah, vintage, no way. I can get some Japanese vintage at my LCS, but usually if I don't, my Japanese vintage stuff, I found a lot of it at like vintage, like used book fairs and things like that. Usually there's some sellers that will have like a basket of old Menko cards or something and dig through them and find something nice. Or of course I buy from Japanese sellers online or whatever, but yeah.
Okay. And I mean, any plans to ever come back to the United States, or is this is where you like to stay?
Yes, some plans are brewing. I think I actually thought it might have happened this year, but it didn't. So, but I gotta really think about it. I guess I'm happy here, so it's not a big deal. But for the past couple years, there's been some things and kind of maybe trying to get things going, but
I'm out on the road too much. But it's just it's not a typical thing where I'm
right. No, that's totally fine. It's
talking to what do we call it? Expat? Is that what they call it when you?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Like, I think I'm in a place where I would be happy to go back. I'd be happy to stay here.
Okay, cool. Shifting a bit, YouTube. You've been on somewhere around 4 years. One of the things I found curious is your first videos are not on there anymore. Because when I started watching your channel there for research, you're already talking about 100 subscriber.
There's a story. There's a definite reasons for that. I'll tell you what they are. So
okay.
The main reason the earliest videos are not on there is because they're almost unwatchable. And the reason they were almost unwatchable is because I had a focus problem with my camera where it just would never focus. So basically I don't use my phone, I use my computer, but I have an extra camera hooked up. I don't use my computer's camera, it's a peripheral camera. But it wouldn't I couldn't get it to work, and it would go in and out of focus, and it was just very aggravating. But then finally I was just like, if I do manual focus, it's fine. But you'll see in a lot of my videos, I'm kind of like looking over to like adjust, because if I hold a card up, sometimes I need to manually adjust the focus. But see, if like this, where my camera, if I had it on auto, it would be like, if I just move around, it would just, the focus would just, go in and out of focus. So that's the main reason my earliest videos are not there.
Okay. Well, you had enough people still watching to get to 100 with only 2 videos that I get to see. So
yeah, no, I think I probably, back when I first started, I definitely I ripped more product and stuff than I do now. So maybe that's even though the quality back then, like when I first started, here's the thing. I was able to be like one of the first guys to rip a new hobby product on camera because I'm in Japan. So because of the way literally just the timing works out, I'm like in the future right now.
Yeah.
So mine would be one of the first ones up. It's just this noob with crappy videos ripping a few hobby packs or whatever. Because, I'm not like a breaker. I never did like cases or, I didn't have like a mat with like my logo on it or anything. But yeah, my trick was that I was always one of the first guys to put a hobby rip. It was usually just a little preview. I'd say like, this is 5 hobby packs from this product, but it was like the first rip video of that product up on YouTube. Like no joke.
Well, so then when they release a product, it's worldwide the same day. Then that's how it
Yeah,
works. Okay.
basically, yeah. And basically, I get it slightly in the future, 15 hours ahead or whatever. So
Oh yeah. So you get a jump on everybody in the United States.
that's right.
So oh yeah, that would be a good strategy then to.
But the thing is, I stopped ripping
First.
product because it's so dang expensive now.
Oh yeah.
Back when I started, I was commenting on Eric Those Back Pages video about his Otanis, and I said he had a gold Otani from Topps Update or whatever, the one with Ichiro on it, and I said, I ripped that card myself back when like a Topps hobby box was like $80 or something. So,
yeah, it's a little different price now.
Yeah.
But so did you have any inspirations to start YouTube? I mean, what got you on the platform?
I can't say that I can't point to like one person really. I kind of just started to do it, I can't say that there was any like individual who inspired me or anything like that. I think I kind of just started watching YouTube videos. And I mean, definitely, like, there were some guys I saw early. Definitely, like I said, like Those Back Pages, I remember watching pretty early. Like, he was one of the first guys I watched. I think the first two guys I remember watching are like Those Back Pages and Pepino Man. And then, so yeah, maybe those, I suppose, like those guys, sure, played a role in inspiring me to do it. But I think mostly I was just like, well, I guess I'll just try this out,
Okay. And I mean, one of the things I like is that you kind of bounce around from subject to subject. I mean, one video there'll be the Japanese cards, another video you've got some awesome magazines, another one be comics, vintage cards, then modern cards. I mean, and you just we mentioned beforehand you hadn't made a video now in a couple of weeks. I mean, what makes you then suddenly decide to make a video? Since I mean, it's just something you find that fascinates you and you want to talk about it. I mean,
yeah, I guess so. Like, I do want to, I think that for me, part of it is like, I don't necessarily want to make a video just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? So if I think that, I can, the content of the video is going to be really interesting or novel or, then I'll do the video. But yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's just a whim, I suppose. I will say that I haven't really gotten anything new. So I think, to be honest with you, that's partly the reason that I haven't done a video in a couple weeks.
You spend money, you make a video.
There you go. So,
all right. One of the things that clearly people have liked, you don't pull it out that often, is the characters and costumes on occasion. Won you ended up winning you $100 from Mangini there.
That's right. I know.
We've got Mafia, or Sopranos theme. I saw one that was like Influencer Bro.
Yeah. Guys who put Scotch tape on top loaders.
There you go. And then a personal favorite was Scooby Doo.
Yeah, I did the whole cast pretty much.
I mean, I was wondering, did you have some Scooby snacks before that video?
No, man. Nah, I did not. But yeah, okay, yeah, characters. I don't know. It's fun.
Japan, so, but yeah. So what when do you decide to pull out the big guns with the whole costume and things? I mean,
yeah, I think again that's just kind of like, I guess it's kind of, I can't explain it. If I have a good idea, I guess sometimes a good idea just or it's not necessarily, I don't know that doing Scooby-Doo vaguely related to Mickey Mantle cards is a good idea. But I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where, mainly I would say the main reason that I don't do more of those is just because they're work. Like, I mean, the editing job on, like, for example, my Mobster versus Santa is terrible. Like, there was the pause in the middle that's like 5 seconds, but it feels like 5 minutes where I didn't hit the pause button because, look, I'm just basically what I was doing is just hitting the pause button and changing costumes and hitting the play button.
So you're saying you Pepino style edit?
That's right. I Pepino Man style. Yes, that's right. But he's mastered it because Pepino Man is the master of that for sure. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Like, I like voices. I really like voices, like just all kinds of voices, cartoon voices. I love like Mel Blanc, the guy who the original voice of Bugs Bunny, who did like they called him like the man of 1,000 voices, or Simpsons characters. Man, I don't know. I just have a thing about yeah. I think I have kind of an actor's spirit, although I've never really earnestly tried acting or anything like that.
Well, I enjoy it, so keep them coming.
I will say I have some ideas. Some of them are, I do have like ideas brewing around, but I don't know. We'll see.
And I definitely feel you on the voice thing. To me, that was one of the most fun things when my kids were smaller, reading stories to them, was getting to do all kinds of voices during that. So,
yeah.
Yeah, they're too old now. So, no more story time when they're teenagers. So, yeah. So, I guess we've gone all this time and you haven't shown any cards. Did you bring some cards that are some of your favorites to show us?
Sure. Like like I said, I'm big into the like mid to late 90s, early 2000s era. I like rare inserts, like I said, the old Fleer products, the Skybox products, and things like that. So yeah, like I have some of those kinds of cards. I guess I could get this out. This is one of my one of my favorite cards in my collection. Like, got this like Jeter, the Man, insert from '98 Finest. Man, I don't know, I guess this doesn't really show up very well, but this one's numbered to 500, and then I think they also have a refractor that's numbered to like 75 or something.
So speaking of that, there seems to be, I've noticed a lot of ties with like New York or the Yankees, or like you even had a New York video. What's the connection with New York for you?
There is no New York connection. I do PC Jeter, and I think I PC Jeter just because Jeter, I think there's something about him where, I think Derek Jeter, maybe because of my age and things like, he was the Jeter, and maybe to a lesser extent Griffey, not a lesser extent Griffey, but well, I guess when I was a kid, Griffey was, of course, still a big presence, and but maybe Jeter was the main guy, and I think that Derek Jeter really might be the last guy who is basically like a household name in baseball. So a baseball player who is basically a household name, meaning like even people who don't like, it's a lot has been said about how baseball players aren't really national stars or things like that anymore. And there's a lot of truth to that, I think. But Jeter, I think, is definitely, when I was a kid, obviously Jeter was one of the big heroes, but Jeter was he was really in the consciousness. I think Jeter was a star that was bigger than kind of, Mike Trout's a star, but he's a star in baseball. Baseball fans know about him and like him, but whereas like Jeter, here's an A-Rod though. Same one. This one has the like protective film on it, so that's pretty cool. But so yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I PC Jeter, and why I'm kind of drawn to Jeter. It really, there is no New York connection. I think I'm just a product of my time, being a kid, and Jeter. And if you like baseball, you probably like Derek Jeter.
Well, the late 90s, the Yankees were dominant. I mean,
that's right.
They won 4 series against my Braves.
Look, okay, then we have a connection. If your team is the Braves, they always say like the Braves, they only won 1 World Series in the 90s. Like, are you kidding me? Right? And I don't know. I feel you, because it's like, as a Packer fan, it's like you had 30 years of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and you only won 2 lousy Super Bowls in 30 years. So yeah, it's the Braves of the 90s were a little bit like the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 50s, right? Yankees always won.
That was painful. I mean, it wasn't. At least it was convincing, whereas that one with Minnesota where Lonnie Smith should have ran around the damn bases but got faked out by Knobloch, that one hurts.
Well, I remember the 90s Braves too. I'm old. I remember I love Greg Maddux, man, the professor. I love Greg Maddux wearing the glasses. It's just, he's the professor. I like any card I can get with Greg Maddux wearing the glasses.
Relative to most athletes, he looks like this tiny, right? I mean, the comparable to me is like John Stockton on the basketball court, where they just look like normal guys that should not be some of the greatest players.
So here's a 97 Metal Universe, and this is Greg Maddux. And this is it's like a parallel, basically. These are really cool. I don't know why they only did these in 90s. Is this 96 or 97? It's 96. I don't know why they only did these in 96, but they did these like brushed aluminum parallels. I think they were 1 per pack. But here's the Greg Maddux, and he's got the glasses on the back. So yeah.
I guess it sure helped him see that strike zone well.
Yeah, right? Yeah, definitely an original. But you're right about him. Like, probably the next best comparison after that is Lincecum. Like, it's this shrinky little guy who looks kind of weird. He looks like a, stoner in a basement
like or something. A skate park to me.
Yeah, and I also the other heads of the Hydra. Smoltz.
Oh yeah, with Glavine and Smoltz and Maddux.
And then also I've got Glavine too. So
yeah.
So yeah, these guys. This is the.
And Avery was supposed to be the 4th guy, but he fizzled quick. But and then of course Millwood had one good season, and he fizzled.
It's pitchers, yeah, Don't they say there are no pitching prospects? Isn't that I think that's what they say. You just never know.
Yeah. But anything else you want to show before we move on?
I'll show the Jeter from the same, another one of my favorite cards. Here's the Jeter. But I'm sorry for the bad camera again, what we were talking about earlier with crappy focus, but it's hard to, it's like when it hits the light a certain way, the foil kind of like has a different design. They're really cool. So this one's an 8 though, so it's garbage. As Mangini jokes about, right?
I mean, that is one of the big things that drew me away from modern was that whole like it's trash if it's not a 10 like thinking. So but so did you have anything else down there? Are we ready to move on?
We can move on, yeah.
All right. Well, this part of the interview is where I give you 10 random questions, learn more about you.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite TV show of all time?
Twin Peaks.
That's an interesting choice. Wasn't that a little early for you?
Yes, I was very small when it was on TV, but I've seen it, and they made a third season that came out in 2017.
Netflix
awesome.
did that, didn't it? Or
yes, so the third season was awesome, and
yeah.
I'm kind of a David Lynch stan. So.
Okay. Yeah, that thing was freaky weird for the time period it came out in. I mean, people were not ready.
I honestly can't imagine that being on network TV in the early 90s, to tell you the truth. Like, I watched the DVDs, and I was like, wow. Some of this content, like, I can't believe this was on network in the early 90s.
It definitely stood out for being different. So, we were loyal viewers in my household.
So, yeah, great.
Good pick. Question 2. Out of any fictional character, who would you want to be your friend?
Oh, any fictional character, who would I want to be my friend? So this is anything. Okay, well, I got to do it. It's a cheap answer, but Special Agent Dale Cooper, FBI. What a great friend.
All right, Kyle MacLachlan, huh? Number 3, if you were forced to do karaoke, what would be your song of choice?
You know, being in Japan, I have been forced to do karaoke. So, wow, man. Song of choice, karaoke. I'm going to say anything by the Chili Peppers, because their songs are pretty easy to sing. They're kind of a low register, and obviously I can't hit the high notes or anything, you know. So yeah. I like the Chili Peppers, and they're also kind of easy to sing. So I think my range, it fits my range pretty well. So I'll say Chili Peppers.
All right. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Man, I mean, like a lot of kids, I kind of wanted to be like everything at once. I think, you know, you kind of have a pretty typical kid, you know, I want to be an astronaut, firefighter, kind of deal, but I don't know. I think I wanted to be a politician, which is weird, but I remember
I was expecting.
I was a kid. I remember, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think, no, I remember. Okay, so I just remembered this. I wanted to be vice president, not president. I wanted to be vice president. Okay. And the reason I wanted to be vice president is because it's easier than president. But like, you still, you know, you're the next guy, but it's like a lot easy. It's a lot more chill. No, my mom told me this. She said, you know, when you wanted to be vice president, and everyone thought that was weird. It's like most kids would say, well, I want to be president someday, but I wanted to be vice president, I guess. So I guess, you know, in addition to, you know, of course, I want to be a baseball player. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be, but apparently some kind of politician, but I had mentioned as a kid that I wanted to be vice president.
Yeah, myself, I latched on to astronaut, and then it was during middle school when the whole Challenger explosion happened. So they kind of changed my plans.
That's a little bit scary. Columbia. Well, I was in middle school, I think, when Columbia happened. The shuttle disaster.
Oh yeah, because there were both of them eventually. So, number 5. What is the best gift you ever received?
The best gift I ever received. Oh, let me think here. Probably an older gentleman I know here gifted me a mask. It's a mask from No Theater, a traditional form of Japanese theater, and some of the performers wear wooden masks. And they're crafted. Most of the ones they use in the performances are very old, even still. They're like can be hundreds of years old. But he gifted me a one that the performers used to practice with at home. So it's still the genuine article made by a master, carver and things like that. But he is not a professional, but this gentleman I know he kind of practices this kind of theater as like a hobby. And yeah, he gifted me a mask. I would say that's pretty special. So
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite movie?
I don't know. Does it have to be the top one, like the very tippy top, or can it be like? Can I give you like 3?
Go for it. This is your experience.
All right. Well, I'll try to. The 3 that immediately jump to my mind are very different, so I don't know if I can like. The first movie that comes to mind that I really love that is a candidate for number 1 is the old D-Day movie, The Longest Day, with John Wayne. It has an ensemble cast, but I think it's from the 60s, and it's about D-Day, the Normandy invasion. Yeah. And I know it has John Wayne in it and some others fairly big names for the time, but it's kind of this it has very deliberate pacing. It takes its time, and to be frank, it's like a little boring. It's kind of comfortable boring in that way that like movies of that time were kind of like golden age to like kind of it's black and white, and it's very much the characters all have kind of deliberate conversations with each other, and this movie is it's perfect as like background noise if I'm working on something, I'm drawing, or I'm doing, if I have like The Longest Day on or one of those other kinds of like similar kind of, it's an old war movie, old Western, black and white, and it's kind of like that. So I love The Longest Day with John Wayne, and big ensemble cast, German actors playing the German side, and but yeah, so The Longest Day is definitely a candidate. I also love The Shining, Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining. Definitely one of my favorite movies. And then also because, like I said, I'm a big David Lynch fan. I love Mulholland Drive too. So those 3 are probably my candidate for number 1. And I guess if I have to say number 1, I'll go Longest Day because I talked about it the most. So.
Okay, that's the one of the 3 I have never seen. So,
Longest Day.
Yeah.
Okay. It's long.
Well, it is The Longest Day. So.
Fitting, right?
Yeah. Number 7. If you were the ruler of a country, what would be the first law you would want to enact?
Is this like a serious question, or can I like, is it like, am I an eccentric dictator, I guess, or either is okay.
You make the rules.
Right. Okay. I guess I can get a little bit, serious. Like, I think I would want my country, I really want I would be really I would want to make schools and education like as good as possible. And one thing I would want to do is in my schools, I would make a personal finance or financial literacy class mandatory for all kids, for all in high schools at some point, where the kids learn about, you know, index funds, they learn about IRAs, they learn about, you know, I really think the personal finance and things like that are just, it's something that is very sorely needed as like part of a curriculum. And I understand some of the ethics that might be involved there, conflicts, right? If you teach about, you know, index funds or what, you know, you can lose money, so it's like, oh, you can't, you know, tell kids about, like, it's like risk or what. But, you know, I don't know. I think it's something that really needs to be taught more formally. So yeah, that would, I guess that's my answer. I would let's give kids you start high school later than they do now because high schools start too early. There are financial literacy, personal finance classes that are mandatory, and let's make sure the food doesn't suck. And that's what I would do with schools. So
all right, so taking charge of that Department of Education.
Yes.
All right. The children are our future. I think I've heard that one.
Someone said.
Number 8. What would be your spirit animal?
My spirit animal, I will go with my favorite animal, a gorilla. I love gorillas.
All right.
Gorilla. I just, everything, gorillas are so great. They're strong, they're smart. There's not a whole lot bad about a gorilla.
So don't get angry.
Right. Well, yeah, if you maybe when I'm angry, I'm not quite like a gorilla, but
all right. Now, myself personally, I am scared of heights. Do you have any phobias?
I'm pretty scared of clowns. Yeah, not a big clown guy.
I noticed it was not one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, but it's not because of it. I definitely was scared of clowns before it. But then definitely, yeah, it was, I did see it, like the original Tim Curry It. I haven't seen, I haven't actually seen the newer one. But yeah, clowns, I'm definitely clowns are icky. Get them away from me.
All right. The last question here, number 10. Is your glass half empty or half full?
I'm pretty optimistic. I'll say half full.
All right. Good answer. You know, I'm an engineer, so I might say the glass is twice as large as it needs to be.
Hey, that's good. Yeah. Is that on that note, is that like the chip bags, right? Because they're sold by weight, not volume, so the bag is like way bigger than it needs to be, right?
They are sold by weight, yeah. And then,
so then they make it seem like there's more chips in there, but the bag is bigger than it needs to be.
Oh yeah, if they fill it with a little bit of air, then yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the visual that you're getting more, you know, is pleasing, right?
Right.
So, any last words for the audience at home?
Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I'm humbled. I'm flattered, and it's been great being on.
Well, it's great to have you, Tony. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.